episode of Lackinbehind in Minecraft. My name is Lackinbehind. You'll see that we're back in our zombie spawner here that we built in the previous episode. I have removed the water streams and replaced it with minecart tracks. The idea here is that we're able to scoop up the zombies as they spawn and run them through a minecart track that will lower their health before they fall into the chamber. And along with lowering their health as they go through, this is now a dual farm for zombies and also for drowned. We have our switch here that controls what we are currently farming. We'll start with the zombies first and we'll get into how the drowned farm works in a little bit. So the minecarts are attached to a hopper clock that I have set up. If you'd like to see how the hopper clock works in more detail, I went over it in my video on the vertical mob farm that we explored. This hopper clock is tied to a redstone line that leads back into our enchanting area. Whenever the redstone signal is emitted, it turns off the redstone torch that unlocks the hopper and allows the items to move back and forth, which then powers the dispenser that is full of minecarts. It'll dispense them onto the minecart track where they'll scoop up the zombies and take them along their path. I'd like to give a shout out to Pigs Rule 978. In my last video, he left a comment mentioning the command blocks and how they can be used for different functions inside the creative world. So I took a look into it and found that there's ways to easily set up the switch between hard mode and peaceful mode. So I have some buttons here, and you'll see behind the wall we've got the command block with the command input to change the world to hard. And then behind this one, let's see if I can get to it here, we have the command to change the world to peaceful. And then on this side, I have a block that is constantly running to change the weather to clear whenever it starts raining. And then another for night vision. And that's what Pig's Rule initially mentioned, was being able to use night vision through a command block so that I didn't have to constantly drink potions and keep track of where they are in my inventory. So thank you for that tip, Pig's Rule. I'll be sure to use those more often in my creative worlds when I'm exploring different things. So we can turn on the farm real quick and we'll see how it works before we get the zombies in there. So here's the switch. When the switch is up, the minecarts are not being released. When the switch is down, they are being released. So we'll go ahead and turn on the minecarts and we can watch them flow out. They are periodically released and they'll scoop up the zombies if there's any that have spawned. So let's jump into spectator real quick and we'll take a look and see what's going on in the background. Alright, so we can follow this guy along the path here. There's plenty of space and there's timing in between so the minecarts don't go out too quickly. You'll see that they come up the path here. There is a tripwire hook that when there is no zombie inside the minecart, it is then sent to the left. It goes over our enchanting room and is then put back into the system. When the minecart runs into the cactus at the end, it turns back into an item where the hopper then scoops it up and puts it back into the dispenser so we can use it again. So the tripwire hook, whenever a zombie is in the minecart, it will trip the tripwire, which will activate the redstone. That will flip this minecart track and send the zombies down the right path. So you'll see if I fly through it here, it'll briefly flip through so that the minecart can switch. So it goes through here where there's a 1-block path for the zombies to go through. When their heads are inside of the solid block, they then take damage as they go through the farm. When the minecart spits them back out in our chamber, it drops them off with an activator rail that spits out anything inside the minecart, where we are free to attack the zombies and collect their loot and the experience that drops. So let's go ahead and switch over to hard mode here. And we've already got some zombies that are spawning in. And we can follow them really quick. More won't spawn in while I'm in spectator mode, but we can at least follow them through here. So you'll see how they're taking damage while they're inside of the solid blocks. And here they're dropped out with the activator rail, sitting inside of our chamber here, just waiting. And this is an active farm. It's not really one that you can sit and go AFK. You could set up a function to dispose of the zombies while you're not here to make it AFK. But in this case, I've just set it up so that if you have your sword, you could easily take care of the zombies, even with just a regular stone sword should be enough after they've taken their damage for their minecart ride. Alright, so just 2 or 3 minutes later here, got quite a few zombies, and you may have just seen where it dropped off a zombie but also picked up a zombie. So that's the problem with this, and the main reason that it's not AFK is that when it gets too backlogged, it's so crowded that it'll pick up another one on its way out. But this is more of an active farm than AFK. Let's go ahead and stick on peaceful mode. We'll turn off the farm, and I can show how the drowned section of the farm works. So the drowned portion of the farm, I can show the redstone first, is controlled here by this lever. When it's up, you're working with zombies. When it's down, you're working with drowned. So you flip the redstone lever, and it will trigger this signal. That'll then reach to another comparator down here that works similar to the minecart switch, the minecart track switch here. It's essentially the same system. So when we flip the lever, it will flip this minecart track from going up this way to going into the water area here. So now the minecart track is heading up into the water area. The signs are preventing the water from flowing out and removing the minecart tracks. I believe it was update 1.19 where they allowed minecart tracks to be placed and ridden underwater if they're inside of a source block. So there's a whole room of source blocks. Whenever the minecart track intersects with a turn that isn't connected to it like this, it will continue straight in the direction that it's moving. So the minecart will go through here into the water area, and whenever a zombie is submerged in water for 30 seconds, it begins the transformation into a drowned. So it'll follow this path, and the zombies will emerge as drowned. The animation for the zombie doesn't update until they're removed from the minecart, so when we watch it, you'll still see a zombie all the way through the minecart track, but as soon as it's ejected, it does turn into a drowned. This farm does produce a decent amount of glow squid. They don't interact with the minecarts if there's a zombie in them. They won't slow it down, they won't stop it or anything like that. If an empty minecart does come through this way, it will pick up a glow squid. So not a lot of minecarts reach the top when they're empty this way. And the glow squid don't make it all the way around the track. They have significantly less health than a zombie, so they don't make it through. We can go ahead and turn on the farm, and we'll check out some of the drown that spawn in. And when they're converted into drowned, they regain all of their health. So they are taking damage in the minecart, but whenever they're dropped off and converted to drowned, they get all of their health back. So it will take the full number of sword hits as if they came through a water column initially and didn't take any damage prior to being dropped off. So you'll see that we can get the copper ingots that they can drop, the nautilus shells, which are quite difficult to find if you don't have a farm like this. There's a small chance they spawn holding a nautilus shell, and then even then there's just a chance that they drop it. So when you have a farm that's full of drowned coming through like this, then it's really nice to have that option. And it does take about 45 seconds for them to go through the farm, so this one does take a bit longer to get going and to become consistent versus the water-based farm that we built last time, where they were simply washed into a hole and popped up through a water elevator. Thank you for joining me today. I've had a great time working with these farms and trying out something new. It's been a lot of fun working with the redstone, the minecart tracks, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned a little something today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.